Hello, welcome back. Thanks for stopping by the Story Corner. We're glad to have you here. I just do read. I read just a chapter or two out of some of my favorite books every night, mostly to connect with my children that live 2,000 miles away. And we used to read every night when they were little, and we loved it. So we try to connect when we can, and this is a fun way to do that. So we're in the middle of Evelina by Fanny Burney. It's excellent. I love it. I think it's a very underappreciated book. It's so cute. But before we get started, I always like to ask, what did you have for dinner, or what are you going to have for dinner? Depending on where you're at and what time it is. We had pot pies, just plain old pot pies with cottage cheese. You buy the little frozen ones. I had a crazy day, and I was working for hours up to and through dinner, and I had a big team meeting and a bunch of stuff I had to do for one of my bosses for one of my part-time jobs. Anyway, it's crazy. So I didn't make anything yummy, which is very unusual. I usually make this from scratch yum food, but pot pies and cottage cheese for us. I did cut up some fruit and make a fruit dip after, so we had that, and that was yum. Also, I make things and sell them. I have an online store, which is in my bio. If you click on my picture, whatever it's called, the icon, it'll take you to my homepage, and there's a link. So if you want to check out my store, I would appreciate it. And then I like to show off a few things I make before I get started. So mostly I do jewelry, but there's a lot of other stuff too. So these little earrings, super cute. So they have the feathers hanging off of them, but then they have little dried flowers in them. I know this camera is not the best. Come on. And it's kind of hard to tell, but they are really, really cute. Anyway, so those are cute, kind of a little more dangly ones. And then I have this. This is really cute. I do a lot of little girl and little boy jewelry, like children's jewelry. They love it. I used to do a lot of craft shows and fairs, and they love it. The children love finding something for them because, everywhere you go, there's always all the adult stuff, but the kids love it when there's something for them. So I sell a lot of little children. So this is a little girl necklace. It's on a real short chain, and it's a cute little mint blue green little bear necklace. So cute. So there's that. And then this is what the little boys like. It's not on a chain. I haven't actually made it into a necklace yet, but I'm going to. It's a dragon. Pretty cool, right? I like to give a more solid black background, but with silver wings, a black dragon. So kind of cool looking. And, when they wear it, it's about that size. I mean, obviously bigger on a small child, but they love them. The little boys, dragon necklaces, they think they're so cool. So those are fun. So that's a couple of things that I make. Now to get to the reading, we have, let's see, we're in chapter 28, I believe. 28? Yep, 28. So, little recap. So the last letter was just, so Evelina, her grandmother wants to go to the law and sue her father, basically, and force him to acknowledge her as his daughter and his heir so that she can inherit his fortune and be given his name, because she goes by Evelina Anville, but her father is John Beaumont, but he abandoned her mother, tore up the marriage certificate, and there weren't any witnesses because they eloped and said, yeah, we were never married. And so hasn't taken care of her ever. She's never met him. Anyway, her grandmother wants her to go confront him and get her rightful name and fortune and all that. And she's very scared. She doesn't know whether she wants to do it or not, because of course, she would want to go meet her father, but at the same time, he abandoned her. So what if it's this terrible experience and he treats her bad, and then she's devastated for the rest of her life? So she doesn't know what to think. And so the last letter, it was a short one, but it was just Lady Howard explaining to the Reverend Mr. Villers. Oh my goodness. Sorry, my children are so loud. I'm sure you can hear that. And the beeping. I'm sorry, it is annoying. And so I had the smoke detector in the kitchen was beeping, and you have to put in a request. They take the square batteries, and we don't have any, and we live in an apartment, so technically they're supposed to maintain all that stuff. So you have to put in the request, and then you have to wait until somebody comes in, and it takes them 2 minutes. They change the battery, right? But sometimes it's a couple of days before they can get to it if they have a lot of requests. So it just started beeping last night, so I put in a request today. But the dumb thing is we just got the battery replaced in the other one week ago, and then this one started chirping. It kind of makes me mad. I wish we would have just got them both done at the same time, because it drives me up the wall. Can't stand it. So, and then I just thought, well, I'll just take the battery out because it's driving me crazy. But it's one of those ones that's hot wired. It's wired in. If you take the battery out, and it just keeps right on beeping. So it's annoying. But I'm hoping tomorrow they'll come take care of it so I don't go mental. Okay. So this next letter, the Lady Howard was writing to the Reverend telling her why she thinks it's a good idea for Evelina to go meet and confront her father. So letter 28, Mr. Villers to Lady Howard. So this is the Reverend writing back to Lady Howard. Berry Hill, May 2nd. Your letter, madame, has opened a source of anxiety to which I look forward with dread, and which to see closed I scarcely dare expect. I am unwilling to oppose my opinion to that of your ladyship, nor indeed can I, but by arguments which, I believe, will rather rank me as a hermit, ignorant of the world, and fit only for my cell, than as a proper guardian, in an age such as this, for an accomplished young woman, yet thus called upon, it behooves me to explain, and endeavor to vindicate the reasons by which I have been hitherto guided. The mother of this dear child, who was led to destruction by her own imprudence, the hardness of heart of Madame Duval, and the villainy of Sir John Belmont, was once what her daughter is now, the most beloved of my heart, and her memory, so long as my own holds, I shall love, mourn, and honor. On that fatal day, on that fatal day that her gentle soul left its mansion, and not many hours ere she ceased to breathe, I solemnly plighted my faith that her child, if it lived, should know no father but myself, or her acknowledged husband. You cannot, madame, suppose that I found such difficulty in adhering to this promise, and forbearing to make any claim upon Sir John Belmont. Could I feel an affection the most paternal for this poor sufferer, and not abominate her destroyer? Could I wish to deliver to him who had so basely betrayed the mother, the helpless and innocent offspring, who, born in so much sorrow, seemed entitled to all the compassionate tenderness of pity? For many years, the name alone of that man, accidentally spoken in my hearing, almost divested me of my Christianity, and scarce could I forbear to execrate him. Yet I sought not, neither did I desire, to deprive him of his child. Had he, with any appearance of contrition, or indeed of humanity, endeavored to become less unworthy of such a blessing, but he is a stranger to all paternal feelings, and has, with a savage insensibility, forborne to inquire even into the existence of this sweet orphan, though the situation of his injured wife was but too well known to him. Oh, so he did know she was pregnant. I couldn't remember. So he knew she was pregnant when he abandoned her. And the Reverend is saying, while I haven't tried to bring her to him, I never tried to keep her from him either, and he's never made any effort to see her or know her. You wish to be acquainted with my intentions. I must acknowledge they were such as I now perceive would not be honoured with your ladyship's approbation, for though I have sometimes thought of presenting Evelina to her father, and demanding the justice which is her due, yet at other times I have both disdained and feared the application, disdained lest it should be refused, and feared lest it should be accepted. Lady Belmont, who was firmly persuaded of her approaching dissolution, frequently and earnestly besought me that if her infant was a female, I would not abandon her to the direction of a man so wholly unfit to take the charge of her education. But should she be importunately, is that a word? Importunately, isn't that importunely? I don't know. that she be importunately demanded that I would retire with her abroad and carefully conceal her from Sir John till some apparent change in his sentiments and conduct should announce him less improper for such a trust. And often would she say, should the poor babe have any feelings correspondent with its mother's, it will have no want while under your protection. Alas, she had no sooner quitted it herself than she was plunged into a gulf of misery, that swallowing up her peace, reputation, and life. During the childhood of Evelina, I suggested 1,000 plans for the security of her birthright, but I as ofttimes rejected them. I was in a perpetual conflict between the desire that she should have justice done her and the apprehension that, while I improved her fortune, I should endanger her mind. However, as her character began to be formed and her disposition to be displayed, my perplexity abated. The road before me seemed less thorny and intricate, and I thought I could perceive the right path from the wrong. For when I observed the artless openness, the ingenious simplicity of her nature, when I saw that her guilelessness, gu- I can't talk. I read faster than I talk. So I'm usually a word or two ahead in my mind as I am. I need to slow it down because then I stumble because yeah. When I saw that her guileless and innocent soul fancied all the world to be pure and disinterested as herself, and that her heart was open to every impression with which love, pity, or art might assail it, then did I flatter myself that to follow my own inclination and to secure her welfare was the same thing, since to expose her to the snares and dangers inevitably encircling a house of which the master is dissipated and unprincipled. Sorry about without the guidance of a mother or any prudent and sensible female, seemed to me no less than suffering her to stumble into some dreadful pit. When the sun was in its meridian, my plan, therefore, was not merely to educate and to cherish her as my own, but to adopt her the heiress of my small fortune, and to bestow her upon some worthy man, with whom she might spend her days in tranquillity, cheerfulness, and good humor, untainted by vice, folly, or ambition. So much for the time past. Such have been the motives by which I have been governed, and I hope they will be allowed not merely to account for, but also to justify the conduct which has resulted from them. It now remains to speak of the time to come. And here indeed I am sensible of difficulties which I almost despair of surmounting according to my wishes. I pay the highest deference to your ladyship's opinion, which it is extremely painful to me not to concur with. Yet I am so well acquainted with your goodness that I presume to hope it would not be absolutely impossible for me to offer such arguments as might lead you to think with me that this young creature's chance of happiness seems less doubtful in retirement than it would be in the gay and dissipated world. But why should I perplex your ladyship with reasoning that can turn to so little account? For alas, what arguments, what persuasions can I make use of with any prospect of success to such a woman as Madame Duval? Her character and the violence of her disposition intimidate me from making the attempt. She is too ignorant for instruction, too obstinate for entreaty, and too weak for reason. I will not, therefore, enter into a contest from which I have nothing to expect but altercation and impertinence. As soon would I discuss the effect of sound with the deaf, or the nature of colors with the blind, as aim at illuminating with conviction a mind so warped by prejudice, so much the slave of unruly and illiberal passions. Unused as she is to control, persuasion would but harden, and opposition incense her. I yield, therefore, to the necessity which compels my reluctant acquiescence, and shall now turn all my thoughts upon considering of such methods for the conducting this enterprise as may be most conducive to the happiness of my child, and least liable to wound her sensibility. The lawsuit, therefore, I wholly and absolutely disapprove. Will you, my dear madam, forgive the freedom of an old man if I own myself greatly surprised that you could, even for a moment, listen to a plan so violent, so public, so totally repugnant to all female delicacy? I am satisfied your ladyship has not weighed this project. There was a time indeed when, to assert the innocence of Lady Belmont, and to blazon to the world the wrongs, not guilt, by which she suffered, I proposed, nay, attempted a similar plan. But then all assistance and encouragement was denied. How cruel to the remembrance I bear of her woes is this tardy resentment of Madame Duval! She was deaf to the voice of nature, though she has hearkened to that of ambition. Never can I consent to have this dear and timid girl brought forward to the notice of the world by such a method which will subject her to all the impertinence of curiosity, the sneers of conjecture, and the stings of ridicule. So it's just like it would be so public, and then she would be a spectacle, you know. And for what? The attainment of wealth, which she does not want, and the gratification of vanity, which she does not feel, a child to appear against a father? No, madame, old and infirm as I am, I would even yet sooner convey her myself to some remote part of the world, there, though I were sure of dying in the expedition. So he'd rather take her somewhere safe to protect her from that and die to do it, to save her and protect her from such a public humiliation. You know, who knows how it's going to go. Far different had been the motives which would have stimulated her unhappy mother to such a proceeding. All her felicity in this world was irretrievably lost. Her life was become a burden to her, and her fair fame, which she had early been taught to prize above all other things, had received a mortal wound. Therefore, to clear her own honour and to secure from blemish the birth of her child was all the good which fortune had reserved herself the power of bestowing, but even this last consolation was withheld from her. Let milder measures be adopted, and, since it must be so, let application be made to Sir John Belmont. But as to a lawsuit, I hope, upon this subject, never more to hear it mentioned. With Madame Duval, all pleas of delicacy would be ineffectual. Her scheme must be opposed by arguments better suited to her understanding. I will not therefore talk of its impropriety, but endeavor to prove its inutility. Have the goodness then to tell her that her own intentions would be frustrated by her plan, since should the lawsuit be commenced, and even should the cause be gained, Sir John Belmont would still have it in his power, and if irritated, no doubt in his inclination, to cut off her granddaughter without a shilling. She cannot do better herself than to remain quiet and inactive in the affair. The long and mutual animosity between her and Sir John will make her interference merely productive of debates and ill will. Neither would I have Evelina appear till summoned, and as to myself, I must wholly decline acting, though I will, with unwearied zeal, devote all my thoughts to giving counsel. But in truth, I have neither inclination nor spirits adequate to engaging personally with this man. My opinion is that he would pay more respect to a letter from your ladyship upon this subject than from any other person. I therefore advise and hope that you will yourself take the trouble of writing to him in order to open the affair. When he shall be inclined to see Evelina, I have for him a posthumous letter. So a letter that the mother wrote before she died to Sir John, and now that she's dead, it's actually posthumous. I said it wrong, but yeah, she's dead. But there's a letter from her, which has much, which his much injured lady left to be presented to him if ever such a meeting should take place. The views of the Branghtons in suggesting this scheme are obviously interested. They hope, by securing to Evelina the fortune of her father, to induce Madame Duval to settle her own upon themselves. Yeah, just like I said. In this, however, they would probably be mistaken, for little minds have ever a propensity to bestow their wealth upon those who are already in affluence, and therefore the less her grandchild requires her assistance, the more gladly she will give it. That is so true. The less she needs it, the more willing she will be to give it to her. She wants to hold it over her and force her to do what she wants. I'll take away your money, because she's a horrible person. But if she's wealthy and rich, then she'll be like, oh, you can have my fortune too, because, she's a mama and a biddy. She's not a nice lady. I have but one more thing to add, from which, however, I can by no means recede. My word so solemnly given to Lady Belmont that her child should never be owned but with herself must be inviolably adhered to. I am, dear madam, with great respect, your ladyship's most obedient servant, Arthur Villiers. Letter 29. Mr. Villiers to Evelina, Berry Hill, May 2nd. How sincerely do I sympathize in the uneasiness and concern which my beloved Evelina has so much reason to feel. The cruel scheme and agitation is equally repugnant to my judgment and my inclination. Oh, I'm sorry, that is driving me crazy. Yet to oppose it seems impracticable. To follow the dictates of my own heart, I should instantly recall you to myself, and never more consent to your being separated from me. But the manners and opinions of the world demand a different conduct. Hope, however, for the best, and be satisfied you shall meet with no indignity. If you are not received into your own family as you ought to be, and with the distinction that is your due, you shall leave it forever, and once again restored to my protection, secure your own tranquillity, and make, as you have hitherto done, all the happiness of my life. Oh, he's so sweet. So basically saying no matter what happens, if your own father won't take you, you can always come back to me. I will always be here for you. So sweet. So there's actually, that one was so short. That's the end of that letter. Let me see if this one's more than a page or two. Then I won't. Oh, it's not even a whole page. I'll just read this one too because it's short. So letter 30. Evelina to the Reverend Mr. Billis, Howard Grove, May 6th. The die is thrown, and I attend the event in trembling. Lady Howard has written to Paris and sent her letter to town to be forwarded in the ambassador's packet, and in less than a fortnight, therefore, she expects an answer. Oh, sir, with what anxious impatience shall I wait its arrival? Upon it seems to depend the fate of my future life. My solicitude is so great, and my suspense so painful, that I cannot rest a moment in peace, or turn my thoughts into any other channel. Deeply interested as I now am in the event, most sincerely do I regret that the plan was ever proposed. Methinks it cannot end to my satisfaction, for either I must be torn from the arms of my more than father, or I must have the misery of being finally convinced that I am cruelly rejected by him who has the natural claim to that dear title. A title which to write, mention, or think of fills my whole soul with filial tenderness. The subject is discussed here eternally. Captain Mervyn and Madame Duval, as usual, quarrel whenever it is started. But I am so wholly engrossed by my own reflections that I cannot even listen to them. My imagination changes the scene perpetually. One moment I am embraced by a kind and relenting parent, who takes me to that heart from which I have hitherto been banished, and supplicates through me peace and forgiveness from the ashes of my mother. At another, he regards me with detestation, considers me as the living image of an injured saint, and repulses me with horror. But I will not afflict you with the melancholy phantasms of my brain. I will endeavor to compose my mind to a more tranquil state, and forbear to write again, till I have, in some measure, succeeded. May heaven bless you, my dearest sir, and long, long may it continue you on earth, to bless your grateful Evelina. Okay, well, the next one's short too, but it's flying up. Well, oh, you know what? This one, so this is actually in 2 volumes, and this letter finishes the last volume, and it's only not even 2 pages. I'll just read it. We'll do 4 tonight. What the heck? Why not? Join me in the 4th letter. Okay. Letter 31. Lady Howard to Sir John Belmont. Howard Grove, May 1st. 5th, May 5th. Funny. Sir, you will doubtless be surprised at receiving a letter from one who had for so short a period the honor of your acquaintance, and that at so great a distance of time. But the motive which has induced me to take this liberty is of so delicate a nature that were I to commence making apologies for my officiousness, I fear my letter would be too long for your patience. You have probably already conjectured the subject upon which I mean to treat. My regard for Mr. Evelyn, that is Evelina's grandfather, and his amiable daughter was well known to you, nor can I ever cease to be interested in whatever belongs to their memory or family. I must own myself somewhat distressed in what manner to introduce the purport of my writing, yet as I think that in affairs of this kind, frankness is the first requisite to a good understanding between the parties concerned, I will neither torment you nor myself with punctilious ceremonies, but proceed instantly and openly to the business which occasions my giving you this trouble. I presume, sir, it would be superfluous to tell you that your child resides still in Dorsetshire, and is still under the protection of the Reverend Mr. Villiers, in whose house she was born. For though no enquiries concerning her have reached his ears, or mine, I can never suppose it possible you have forborne to make them. It only remains, therefore, to tell you that your daughter is now grown up, that she has been educated with the utmost care and the utmost success, and that she is now a most deserving, accomplished, and amiable young woman. Whatever may be your view for your future destination in life, it seems time to declare it. She is greatly admired, and I doubt not will be very much sought after. It is proper, therefore, that her future expectations and your pleasure concerning her should be made known. Believe me, sir, the merits your utmost attention and regard, you could not see and know her and remain unmoved by those sensations of affection which belong to so near and tender a relationship. She is the lovely resemblance of her lovely mother. Pardon, sir, the liberty I take in mentioning that unfortunate lady, but I think it behooves me, upon this occasion, to show the esteem I felt for her. Allow me, therefore, to say, and be not offended at my freedom, that the memory of that excellent lady has but too long remained under the aspersions of calumny. Surely it is time to vindicate her fame. And how can that be done in a manner more eligible, more grateful to her friends, or more honourable to yourself than by openly receiving as your child the daughter of the late Lady Belmont? The venerable man who has had the care of her education deserves your warmest acknowledgments for the unremitting pains he has taken and attention he has shown in the discharge of his trust. Indeed, she has been peculiar. Oh my heck, I cannot say this word. Peculiar, peculiarly. She has been peculiarly fortunate in meeting with such a friend and guardian. A more worthy man, or one whose character seems nearer to perfection, does not exist. Permit me to assure you, sir, she will amply repay whatever regard and favor you may hereafter show her, by the comfort and happiness you cannot fail to find in her affection and duty. I'm losing my voice. To be owned properly by you is the first wish of her heart, and I am sure that to merit your approbation will be the first study of her life. I fear that you will think this address impertinent, but I must rest upon the goodness of my intention to plead my excuse. I am, sir, your most obedient humble servant, M. Howard. End of first volume. Volume 2. So then we go back to letter 1 in volume 2. So it's interesting because Lady Howard is writing to Sir John Beaumont, and she's met him, she knew him, but like I've said before in one of the other chapters, it was considered very rude or impolite to just write to some random person if you didn't know him, you know. It wasn't like these days where you shoot some random person a text or an email, you're trying to sell them something or whatever it is, constantly getting these, enroll in healthcare. Now, that kind of stuff was very rude. You didn't go to someone's house if you weren't introduced. You didn't write to him or contact him. You had to have an introduction by somebody who knew him to have this proper relationship. And so she's writing to him saying, sorry, I know we've met, but it was a long time ago, but this is important. So rather than feel me rude or impertinent, please just realize how important this is. And that's why I took the liberty to write to you, basically. So volume 2, now we're going to find out the saga of what happens with her father. Okay, I won't give it away, but you're going to be surprised. I'll tell you that. I will tell you. Plot twist. It's coming. So look forward. Also, Tess asked me for the next book that I'm going to read. Tess requested Anne of Green Gables. And so I've been looking at some different, because you can just read Anne of Green Gables, but there's actually, you can get a set of the 6 books or the 8 books, because there's Anne of Green Gables and Anne of Avonlea and Anne of Ingleside and so there's a whole series, and none of them are super long, so I might get a 6 or 8 book and do the whole series, which would be fun because that's just one of my favorite stories of all time. Love it. I love it. It's so cute. So I will be doing that after Evelina, which, I mean, we're not even halfway through it. So it's still going to be a few weeks, but we will start Anne of Green Gables next. So that's something to look forward to after this one's done. And then, if anybody has favorites or suggestions, put them in there, because if nobody comes up with anything, I'll decide the next one after Anne of Green Gables. But I'm open to suggestion. So we will end there, and we'll see you next time, hopefully. So thanks for stopping by the Story Corner to have story time with me, the Story Lady. Thanks for stopping by. And I'm sorry you didn't get to see my cute children, but they were busy with Dada. So at least, sorry, that's what Caden calls Charles. So that's what I call him, Dada. All right. I'm rambling. Goodbye. I'm going. Bye. Good night.